Why NASA's Artemis mission was delayed. Introduction. NASA's Artemis program. Humanity's ambitious return to the moon has captured the imagination of space enthusiasts worldwide. Designed to land the first woman and the first person of color on the lunar surface, Artemis was once slated for a 2024 crewed lunar landing. However, the program has faced a cascade of delays driven by technical setbacks, budget pressures, contractor challenges, and political headwinds. Here's a comprehensive breakdown of why Artemis hasn't gone according to plan. 1. The Space Launch System (SLS) took years longer than expected. The backbone of the Artemis program is NASA's Space Launch System, the most powerful rocket ever built. But SLS has been in development since 2011, originally under a different program name, and has consistently overrun both its budget and schedule. The rocket was supposed to be ready by 2017. It didn't launch until November 2022, during the uncrewed Artemis I mission. The core stage suffered from supply chain issues, outdated manufacturing processes, and the sheer complexity of integrating decades-old Space Shuttle Lyra technology with new engineering systems. A wet dress rehearsal in 2022 alone was scrubbed multiple times due to hydrogen, fuel leaks, and faulty sensors, pushing the first launch even further. 2. The Orion capsule's heat shield problems after Artemis I's successful uncrewed flight around the moon. NASA engineers discovered a serious and unexpected problem. The Orion capsule's heat shield had charred and eroded more than anticipated during re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. This was a major red flag. Before astronauts could climb aboard for Artemis II, the first crewed flight around the moon, engineers needed to fully understand why the ablative material behaved differently than predicted. Investigating and resolving this issue added significant delays to the Artemis II launch timeline, pushing it from its original 2024 target to 2025 and beyond. 3. SpaceX's Human Landing System delays. NASA selected SpaceX's Starship as the Human Landing System (HLS), the vehicle that will actually touch down on the moon's surface. While Starship is a revolutionary vehicle, it is also the most ambitious rocket ever attempted, requiring technologies like in-space propellant transfer that have never been demonstrated before. Starship's own testing program experienced explosive setbacks in early test flights, though it made tremendous progress through 2023 and 2024, because the lunar landing depends entirely on Starship being certified and ready. Any delays in the Starship program directly push back the Artemis III crewed moon landing. 4. Spacesuits weren't ready. You can't go to the moon without a spacesuit. NASA's Next Generation Exploration Extravehicular Mobility Unit (XEMU) suits, designed for lunar surface operations, faced their own lengthy delays. NASA's Inspector General flagged as early as 2021 that the suits would not be ready in time for the originally planned missions. NASA ultimately contracted Axiom Space to develop lunar spacesuits instead. But the transition took time and added another layer of scheduling uncertainty to the overall Artemis timeline. 5. Budget battles and funding shortfalls. Artemis's program has consistently struggled for adequate congressional funding. NASA requested billions of dollars for HLS development and other Artemis components, but Congress repeatedly appropriated less than what was asked for. This forced NASA to stretch development timelines and make difficult trade-offs between program elements. The overall cost of the Artemis program has drawn sharp scrutiny. NASA's Inspector General estimated that each Artemis mission using SLS and Orion costs over $4 billion, making it one of the most expensive single rocket launches in history. These cost concerns have fueled political debates about the program's long-term viability. 6. Gateway Space Station complications. Part of NASA's long-term lunar architecture involves Gateway, a small space station orbiting the Moon that would serve as a staging point for lunar surface missions. Gateway's development has also faced delays, causing NASA to restructure which missions require it and which don't, adding further complexity to the overall Manifest. 7. The political and competitive landscape. Artemis was born partly out of a 2017 space policy directive and a 2019 push by the Trump administration to accelerate a moon landing to 2024, an extremely aggressive timeline that many space policy experts called unrealistic from the start. Setting that deadline created immense pressure, but also set the program up for very public failures. When the dates inevitably slipped, the program has remained a priority across administrations. But shifting political priorities and uncertainty about NASA's long-term direction have created an unstable planning environment, with discussions around the 2026 budget potentially impacting the program further. Artemis continues to navigate political headwinds. 8. The China factor and why it matters. One major reason NASA and policymakers are pushing hard to keep Artemis moving is China's own lunar ambitions. China has announced plans to land takonauts on the Moon by 2030, the prospect of a geopolitical space race for lunar resources particularly. Water ice at the Moon's south pole has added urgency to Artemis. Even as delays mount, where does Artemis stand now? As of early 2026, the current projected timeline looks roughly like this. Artemis 2 crewed lunar flyby, targeting 2026. Artemis 3 crewed moon landing, targeting 2027 or later. These dates remain subject to change depending on Starship's progress, Orion's heat shield resolution, spacesuit readiness, and budget outcomes. Conclusion: the Artemis delays are not the result of any single failure, but rather the compounding effect of technical complexity, budget constraints, contractor challenges, and overly optimistic initial timelines. Sending humans back to the Moon and eventually onto Mars is genuinely hard. The delays are frustrating, but they are also a reminder that spaceflight demands extraordinary precision. When astronauts finally set foot on the lunar South Pole, the wait will have been worth it. The question is simply, how much longer will we have to wait? This article covers the key reasons behind NASA's Artemis program delays and is intended to accompany a YouTube video discussion on the same topic. All timeline information reflects publicly available NASA statements as of early 2026.